On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, the Avs with a very exciting win in Edmonton. But the worst thing about it, now we got to wait for them to follow it up. Let's talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. If you want to get in on the conversation, join our subtext. Link to that's in the show notes below. You chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. And you're going to want to do that because we got some good things lined up for the Four Nations break. We'll probably get into some grading, kind of like mid-season grading, even though I think we're beyond the actual midpoint of the season.
This is the real mid-season.
Yeah, usually like the All-Star break is we're kind of saying it's the mid-season, but we're using the Four Nations as the break. So we'll do that. What else are we gonna do? We have some other.
We have some articles we got to clean up on. Even with some of
yeah.
these grades, we have the trade deadline on the other side. So some of these players might be considered part of the danger zone. Now that 96 and that precedent has been made, who else could possibly be moved?
So if you want to chime in on that stuff, then sign up for the subtexts, and we'll read that on the air when we cover those things over the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about the Four Nations and we'll watch those games and talk about that when they happen. But for this episode, we are going to talk about that final game before the break against Edmonton, because that was as exciting as it gets, Kyle. That was what I've been saying for the past, I don't know, few days, few weeks even, of you haven't had that Avalanche game or very few, where it's just a back and forth and both teams are really deserving to win. And, you're just getting a lot of goals scored. The superstars doing superstar things. And it's really up in the air as to who wins this game. And the Avalanche, I just feel like haven't had a lot of those games. It's either they look really good or they look really bad. Both teams looked really good. And the Avs hung with them, obviously. And they get that late goal by who else right now but Marty Necas. Overall, just a fun, exciting hockey game. This is why I watch hockey.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. We talk about this all the time. Like the Avs haven't had this was a heavyweight fight, and the Avs have not had a heavyweight fight, like 60-minute, just best on best, go for it. And it was one of those, like before the Necas goal at the end, it was one of those, I was sitting in my seat just watching the game, and I was like, if this goes to overtime and this gets dropped, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this effort. I'm okay with how they responded. Like, this is what I wanted to see. And it's one of those that you talk about all the time. Like, the Avs haven't had one of those losses where it was close and like a move or two away and the game would have been different and you felt good with an effort. Like, this was one that you felt good with the effort all the way through. And Necas, when he put the game away at the end, like, it just sent you over the moon. And this is the emotion. And this was also on the road. So they're talking about that the whole way back to Denver. So this is what you want to hear.
And somehow, some way, the Avs continue to be the best team in the league on the second game of back-to-backs. It's for a team that's just as inconsistent as they've been this year. This is going back a few years now, where they're back-to-backs don't phase them. And you did have Mackenzie Blackwood in there playing both games. You did not have Wedgwood as your backup, and like we said after the last game, like, I just can't see them putting Trent Miner out there. You're just really you're asking too much of him. You're asking too much of the defense, and you're asking too much of the offense to go outscore the other team when that team knows how to score. So you felt like, it's going to be Blackwood back to back, and then he's got a 2-week rest. And we'll talk about him in a little bit, but it's tough to shut that team down. Yeah. It is so tough to shut that team down. And in that first period, you had everything. I mean, I think there was 5 goals in that first period. Nathan MacKinnon with 3 points in the first period.
One of which on the power play.
On the power play, yeah. You just had the big guys just stepping up, and you didn't have a slow first period for the Avalanche. You couldn't afford it. You can't afford that against a team like Edmonton, where you just come out and you get that let's just get our bearings in the first period, keep it close, and then come out and do our thing in the second. No, you had to come out and you had to set the tone, and I feel like they did. But nothing was simple. Nothing was easy. Even when you're up 4-2, and you're like, this is not over.
Yeah.
Edmonton comes back, but it just a great, like, you tell someone that's not huge into hockey or wants to get into hockey, that's one of the games you turn to and be like, go watch that game, because that has everything that you want. An exciting, fun hockey game, and the Stars doing what they're supposed to do.
And see, and when you mentioned the Stars doing what they're supposed to do, Friday night, the night of the Edmonton game, my children were with their mom, so it was me all by myself. So I was like, you know what? I want to watch some of this pregame. I want to really soak in the action. So I watched Altitude do an interview with Nathan MacKinnon, and which is rare. You do not see those. So I was like, ooh, I picked the right night for this. Nathan MacKinnon had very little emotion in his face. I felt so bad for that interview because he was just stone cold.
I think it was Mosier interviewing him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was Mosier, and he was given very little, and I was just like, ooh, Nathan is not thinking about this interview or PR or the Avalanche way. He's got something on his mind, and I wonder what that is. Funny enough, it was the first goal of the game on the power play, and you could tell that he wanted to set the tone. He gave Edmonton all the tummy sticks that you wanted. He was calling them the best team in the league, and it was just the look in his face. I was like, oh, this is going to be a fun one. So I did. I sat here and enjoyed the game, and it was that from beginning to end. And you felt like we talk about Nathan MacKinnon not wanting to take that leadership role, but he set the momentum from the hop, and it carried all the way through.
It was you like seeing that from him, because I kind of feel like when you talk like Hart Trophy MVP and all that stuff, I just kind of feel like people are putting Draisaitl ahead of him. And I mean, you're rolling your eyes, but I get it. I mean, Draisaitl's a great player. He's a great player. But, I think you see what Nathan MacKinnon means to this team. And if we're talking about value to their team and therefore value for the league, he just has the ability to put everybody on his back. And I'm not saying Draisaitl doesn't, but, we all like to say, oh, guys benefit from Nathan MacKinnon. Well, people benefit from Connor McDavid too. It's just how, superstar is going to do superstar things, and guys feed off of that. And you could see, like, Nathan MacKinnon, you're right, Kyle. I saw that interview, and he had the look of his eye of like, we're ready.
Yeah,
we got to be ready. And when you go out there and you perform like you did right off the bat, guys are going to fall in line, and you really did see it. And it was, but credit to Edmonton too, because when Nathan MacKinnon got that power play goal, I mean, what was it, like a minute later? Who gets the Edmonton first goal? Leon Draisaitl. On a very, and that's why that power play is just so dangerous. It was just a set play, beautiful play from them, and he scores their first goal. And then you get Cale Makar, who scores their second goal, so up 2-1, and then like 40 seconds later, they get another one. It's Corey Perry, but they get another one. So they're just a tough team to put away. So I thought the same thing you did when I was watching that interview from Nathan MacKinnon, because Mosier asked him a question about, like, everybody always talks about like Edmonton and like, oh, you got to be prepared for them. The way he phrased it was kind of fun. Like, he was like, do you think like they're afraid of you? Do you think they're afraid of, and MacKinnon, that's like the one time you got a smile out of him. He was like, probably not.
Yeah.
He was dialed in.
Yeah.
He was dialed in, and I was excited to watch him go, and how he was going to start that game. And it was like, I have up on, if you're watching on YouTube, he was the better Mac between the McKinnons and the McDavids. He was. There's no doubt about it.
And I can't wait to, in just a minute, just lay out the stat that it was one of my favorites of the night.
Well, then let's do that. Let's take a quick little break here, and then we have more to talk about with this game and our people over on Subtext, and of course our sound check. We'll do all that later. We got Game Time, so if you're looking for tickets for your next big event, whether it's a concert, comedy show, or a sporting event, find the right tickets at the right place. Or finding the tickets at the right price can be a headache, but with Game Time Picks, it's never been easier. This is how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all of the work for you. It curates the best deals, so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. The best part, you are covered with the Game Time lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they will refund you not 100% of the difference, 110% of the difference. That extra 10%, Kyle.
In this economy?
Yes, huge. Go get some eggs. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, let's dive into some numbers here. There was one that you wanted to bring up. I think I know what it is, but please feel free to let me know if you're thinking of what I'm thinking of, and let everybody else know.
The Tales of the Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Your McJesus. He has more nicknames than he has Stanley Cups. 5 shots. That's the end of the stat line, ladies and gentlemen. Nathan MacKinnon, 4 points on 7 shots. Just 2 more shots, and he's got 4 more points. We talk about Leon Draisaitl, which I will give him his due. He is a really good player. Yeah. But for some reason, this matchup between Nathan MacKinnon and Connor McDavid just disappears. It's interesting. I forgot at many points in the game that he was in the game.
I didn't.
Well, that's you.
Ahead.
That's like how you view the game, because there's so many things you're watching, but he's just not. It was a different factor, and towards the end, I did notice him when I think it was Cale Makar had him, and it was one of the last drives they were having with an empty net, and I was like, ooh, there he is. But just how interesting, if we were talking the other night about the ratings, if you pulled anybody off the street and said, let's watch this game, and you put them down and said, who do you think is the better player of these two? With the eyeball test, it's Nathan MacKinnon, because he's everywhere and he's doing things. He's loud. He's tempo. McDavid he's just there. Draisaitl statistically is more gaudy in that game. But if you had to do the eye test, who's the more captivating player? It's Nathan MacKinnon. In
that game, yeah. But, McDavid, it was not his best game for sure. I feel like the Avs do a relatively good job overall, not in just this game, of keeping him in check as best as a team can do. It's like Michael Jordan, like you can't stop him, you can only hope to contain him type of thing. And I think the Avalanche over the course of the past couple years have done a good job doing that. There's been a few games where they've shut him out,
even in playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big one. But in the regular season, they do a very good job of having a game plan for him, which is easier said than done. He had 5 shots on goal is most people would want that. But the one that sticks out to me is the breakaway that Blackwood just stonewalled him, and that's like a free throw for him. It's usually that puck is usually in the back of the net when he gets that, but you see his acceleration. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Parson that was behind him. I could be wrong on that, but you saw him just pull away from that guy, and stuff like that is just so impressive for him. But he had some tough games. He's had some tough games against the Avs, and using another different analogy, it's like Tom Brady, has a winning record against every NFL team except the Denver Broncos. He doesn't have a losing record, but he doesn't have. He's like 9-9. So the Broncos knew how to play him. The Avalanche know how to play McDavid, and there's going to be times where he beats you, but overall they've looked really good against him. And he not. I thought the stat that you were going to go for was the -3 that he put up, like that. And I know people plus minus and all that stuff, but it can tell you at least something. And for McDavid, like you look at those goals, he's the reason for 2 of them. 2 of them flat out. He's the reason why 2 goals were scored. The first one was the Cale Makar goal, where he like the Avs are in transition, and he just completely leaves Cale Makar alone and gravitates towards Nathan MacKinnon, which I understand why people want to do that. But people were on Nathan MacKinnon. Mm-hmm. He didn't need to come over to that side of the ice as much as he did. And what did MacKinnon do? He found Cale Makar for his first goal, Makar's first goal. Beautiful goal. And then the other one was the shorthanded goal, the other Makar goal. That incredible play from Parker Kelly, who just intercepts a back pass, which was beautiful. Finds so I'm saying like he's responsible for it. He's not 100% responsible for it because he didn't make that pass, but he was the guy because the drop back pass was supposed to go to him. So now he's on defense, and Makar just completely jukes him out of his skate. Well, maybe that's going a little bit too far. I don't think Edmonton fans would be happy with me saying that, but he didn't really put up a good fight to defend Cale Makar in the second one either. So
that -3 is a little bit sweeter when you put it up against. That means he was out there for Nathan MacKinnon. He had a 4-point night. You're -3. I mean, he was out there to witness a lot of that. If you're going mono on mono, those are not good numbers there, Chris.
No. And then you had like I said, Edmonton fight. So after that was the 4-2 score. And then Perry gets another one. Like, God,
can he just go away?
One of those just annoying players. And I think I don't know if it would be if he's on my team, like you root for him type of thing, but he's I don't know.
No,
someone that got so mad that McDavid got suspended when he's a player who's got his knee on someone's neck. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, say we don't protect our players like in the NBA. Yeah. That alone should make you never get microphone access ever again.
I don't know if it was his neck. Was it his neck that he had his knee on, or was it just another knee? He had his knee on somebody's body part that he didn't need to be doing.
Let's do Locked On Corey Perry and have
a
long episode about it.
We're only supposed to do half-hour episodes here. That'll go way too long. But then you had the play that won it for the Avs, and Marty Necas he continues to just benefit from this Avalanche team. And it was I put up the goal visualizer for this goal, and you can see him like he let Nathan MacKinnon go. And I think he was with MacKinnon, and it was a pretty good defensive play. I don't remember who it was in Edmonton who kind of had good spacing as to not like kind of make, because I think Nathan MacKinnon wanted to make the pass and he kind of took away the pass. So MacKinnon just rifles it on net, but he gets his own rebound. And as soon, like if you watch Necas, you see he's kind of going in towards the center of like right into the house, but he sees MacKinnon gets the puck and he immediately just stops, backs up, and finds some open ice. MacKinnon finds him and he nets it. It was just all of that from MacKinnon and Necas was just high IQ stuff. And for them to be doing that still early in Necas's career with the Avalanche is number one, impressive, and number two, scary that it's just going to keep improving for the remainder of this year.
And see, I love that you brought that up because that was also something that stood out to me in that game. Like we used to talk about 96 and Nate being Batman and Robin, and you're seeing him be Nightwing in Carolina. But with Necas and Nathan MacKinnon, it's like Batman and Superman. It's like Justice League. Like they trust each other enough in their skills and what they can do. You see that on the advance on power plays a lot, where Necas will be the one bringing it in, or it'll be Nate, and how they adjust to whoever's in control. It's not Nathan MacKinnon and then it's they both coexist, and feeling like almost like a clone of Nathan MacKinnon with that same respect and skill is such an interesting dynamic that I didn't think I would ever get to experience as an Avalanche fan, but we are currently. and just how the respect for both and their skill levels and what they bring, you see that open up to Nathan MacKinnon's first goal to start the game and Necas to end the game. Like you see that set up by both of their respects and where they are in the empty spots where the other player is not.
Yeah. And as far as stat wise in this game, it was a lot of it was just even.
Except face-offs.
Oh, what was that? Let me see. No, they won in face-offs, the Avs. 52.5 to 47.5.
We'll take that win every day long.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. They actually won it. And Nathan MacKinnon, he has improved immensely with his face-off percentages over the past since Mikko got traded.
Putting on a good face for Necas. He's like, I can't be that bad with the new guy.
Oh my God. Yeah. But it's been a monster improvement from him. But you had, let's see, so 31 shots on goal for the Avs compared to 27 for the Oilers. Penalty minutes were high for both teams. The Avs had 10, Oilers had 12. As we're 1 for 5 on the power play, would have loved to see him get like maybe one more.
Yeah.
And the Oilers 2 for 4 on their power play. They're just a good, solid offensive team. Number wise, like just for shots on goal and everything, or not shots on goal, sorry. Just Corsi numbers and Fenwick numbers. They're kind of, it was 46 to 42 for Corsi for, Corsi against for Edmonton. So Edmonton was 46, Avalanche for 42. Not that far off, but if you add in the Fenwick where it removes the block shots, the Avalanche won that 31 to 29. Your high danger chances were 9 to 8 in favor of the Avalanche. Your expected goals, Oilers 1.65 and the Avs 2.31. So for a 5-4 game, some goals were getting let in, and we didn't mention that the Oilers pulled their goalie after the first. And you knew the Avalanche were not going to do that. I think this was just Mackenzie Blackwood's game to win or lose. And second game of a back-to-back against an offensive-minded team like the Edmonton Oilers, I thought he did what he needed to do. You're going to give up goals against this team, but he came up with some big saves.
And the Avs won the shots in the first and the third. Edmonton won in the second where they made it a game. But the Avalanche, they put it away. And yes, of course, he gets we went from Skinner to picks. Good old buddy Calvin Pickard.
I know.
Vegas draft, expansion draft casualty.
Yep.
So that was nice to see.
They said he was been in the league for 10 years already.
I felt old when I heard that. Oh,
that is wild. Unbelievable. I think that was
the perfect fantasy matchup: Blackwood versus Calvin Pickard.
I know.
I know. It's nice to see him still making a career out there, but it was a surprise for me. I didn't honestly, like as an Edmonton fan, I didn't feel like they were doing bad enough to warrant that pull.
I was surprised at it. Yeah, I was surprised, but maybe I don't know what he was saying. Well, usually when you're pulling a goal, you're not happy with how he's playing. It's pretty simple, but maybe they didn't like how the goals that he gave up. But I thought those were not all on him.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Not all on him. So,
I felt like those were good Avalanche goals and not a lot you could do.
Goal scoring goals.
I didn't feel like it was a on Edmonton thing at all.
Yeah. I mentioned that the power plays and I said I wish they had gotten one more. The 5-on-3 is where I say like the Avalanche are so good on like back-to-backs. The 5-on-3, I don't know why it's the complete opposite. Like that should be a free throw.
Don't make sense of this team, Chris. It just doesn't happen.
Make my head explode. All right. Well, then let's get to our subtext people. And there's one other thing I want to talk about. If you're looking on YouTube, the Bednar 5-game test. How'd the Avalanche do with that? Talk about that in our subtext people and our sound check. A lot of S's going on here. We'll do all that next. All right. So Jared Bednar said he was treating the 5 games heading into the Four Nations break somewhat like a playoff series. And the Avalanche responded very well. Since that loss to the Islanders, They beat the Blues 5-0. Then they beat the Flyers 2-0. Then they got shut out in Vancouver, and then they beat the Flames and then beat the Oilers. So for a 5-game test that was thrown upon you from your head coach, you went 4-1-0. So, pretty simple. 10 possible points. You got 8. I think we will take that all the time. Any team would take that.
Yeah, if this was a 5-game test, this would win you a playoff series. And
exactly.
like this is what you want to see. And honestly, and looking back on that Vancouver effort, they know they lost that game themselves. It wasn't fluky. Like they know exactly what went wrong, and they addressed it in the back-to-back. And honestly, if you would have seen this same team all 5 nights, it probably would have been a different record. But yeah, the Vancouver game is a big eyesore, but this was a really good 5-game test for the entire team.
Absolutely. I'm bringing up our subtext people, and I see I put it up on socials too, but I sent them that graphic that I posted about in the order of point scorers for this year. Marty Necas is now right behind Mikko Rantanen. Rantanen at 66 points, Necas at 64.
How the turntable.
And Mikko did not play. He got hurt. Apparently he took a puck off the knee or something like that, from what I heard, and he did not play the most recent game for Carolina. So I hope he's okay, but I don't know if it's just a precaution thing. We'll see. All right. So subtext, some people chiming in over there. Cody, MacKinnon had 4 points. McDavid had 0. You know what that means. And he just says MacKinnon greater than McDavid.
Done. Fact. Hang it in the Louvre.
If you listen to the show, I am a Connor McDavid fan. I am. I root for like superstars most of the time because
show me one.
They make the league. They make the league better, and they're just fun to watch. Like superstars are fun to watch, and there's certain guys when you're older and you tell your kids, oh, I got to watch that guy. Like you do that with Gretzky, you do that with John Elway, you do that with Joe Montana, like Joe Sakic, name him. He's one of those guys, just like you're going to do with Cale Makar, just like you're going to do with Nathan MacKinnon. And we've talked about this a lot, Kyle. Like, do I think that chasm that everybody thinks it is between Connor McDavid and everybody else is as wide? Not anymore.
Nope.
He's still, I will give it to you, the best player overall that just wows you. Sure. I'll give that to you. And on a season by season basis, there's other players that win the MVP. Nathan MacKinnon did it last year. But is it like day in and day out? Connor McDavid is bar none the best player in the league? No, because you just saw a game where he wasn't. And Nathan MacKinnon, I think, is closed that gap immensely. And he's right there. He is right there.
Nathan MacKinnon is John Elway. Connor McDavid is Dan Marino. Austin Matthews is Jim Kelly.
And I think you did that intentionally because you compared the one guy who has hardware in championships. Yeah. That's the one part you can't argue. I'm sorry. So let's see what else we got here. Heather, what did she say here? Although they should have scored on the 5-on-3, they remembered how the second and third period went yesterday to squeak out the W before the Four Nations. I'm on board with the Necas trade, though the Moose will always have a spot in my heart. I know. I think it's making it easier it's more digestible now that we've seen him and we've seen that he, fits in with this team. And you're always going to miss Mikko Rantanen. He's always going to be a fan favorite. And I think you've played Carolina twice already this year. So that whole, when you go back to Colorado, now that there's going to be even more time, it's not like you traded him and then you played them the next week.
Yeah.
It's going to be next season where he comes back to Colorado. That is going to be a moment. That is going to be an emotional moment because now even more time has passed, but I don't know if I'm looking forward to that.
No, don't wait that long because that's the other thing. Carolina fans coming over to Colorado saying, hey, I don't think we're signing this guy. And everybody's panicking over there.
Yeah.
And Carolina's like, I think we just got ourselves a really nice rental. And who knows what team will be cheering for him next year.
That is a good point, because we got to see where he signs. So I shouldn't just jump to saying Carolina unless they play in the Cup final. That's really the only place it could go. Yeah. Avs fan forever. What a game. The second got a little sloppy, but I'm glad to see that they were able to stay focused. The sound check is kickstart my heart.
Ooh.
Having a little heart attack there. Were you Avs fan? I get it.
Great intro.
Have we done any
Any
Motley?
I don't think so.
We must have. I don't know. I think we did. We'll have to double check.
We had to do Home Sweet Home at some time.
Maybe. I don't know. Remember Dr. Feelgood, maybe? I'll have to check. And then Kyle, not you, says that was absolutely electric. Sound check has got to be Electric Avenue by Eddie Grant.
Oh,
can't
that
be
is such
with that one.
Some great covers of that too. Love that song.
Oh yeah. Okay, that was it. Yep, that was it. So, all right, let's do ours. Might as well get our sound check in and then wrap this bad boy up. So Kyle and I pick a song that summarizes the most recent game. Put these songs on a playlist over on Spotify, which you can follow along. This one is on LOA Soundcheck Volume Number 4 is what you got to search for to follow along. So what do you got for this one, my man?
I had to reach into my special bands case. This band near and dear to my heart. If it wasn't for this band, I probably would not be here today. Love this band more than anything. Like, they don't hit my top 5 of like bands of all time. They're just like my personal band. They are Demon Hunter. Fantastic, wonderful band.
Okay.
Grew up with this band, and they have a song called Devotion. And that third period, you feel like you just saw, and which is it stinks because you have 2 weeks before you see it again.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we just got our first glimmer of this team being devoted, like selling out, like fighting for as a unit, top to bottom, all 4 lines, all defense, goalie, like everything. I saw the glimpse of what the Avalanche are going to be, and with that Necas goal, it felt like they were devoted to that win. It wasn't just like, oh, whatever, we have 2 weeks. Like, you didn't see that oh, whatever emotion that the Avalanche usually give Vancouver beginning to end. Like, it feels like the team is starting to believe in itself. Yeah. And it's no more calling out like, well, we just got to execute better. No, it feels like they're devoted and they're buying in and they're all moving in a direction. So Demon Hunter, Devotion for that, especially that third period.
Yeah, I can't. Man, when you say that, when you're like they're buying in, I feel like they have bought into, you know, what this team wants to be and what they know they can be. But again, it goes back to you don't get it all the time, and we've gone back to this back and forth of when they have a good game, we're like they got it, they figured it out. We're gonna get this for the rest of the year. And then the very next game is the complete opposite. And we're like, oh, maybe this is what we're going to get for the rest of the year. And then they follow that up with a great. So it's just, I think they've bought in. It's just the consistency is the word.
Well, it's the sellies on Necas's goal, game winner, and the end of the game selly where Cale Makar skates up to Blackwood, like helmet to helmet taps him. And it's one of those like, enjoy your break. Like, we did this. Like, we're feeling good about this. Like, the language in the sellies is what's really starting to sell it for me.
Yeah, like you just got to hope that there's enough time for you to get into a good, consistent flow in these games. And we have a new subtexter that what he said kind of leads into my sound check. So we got Charles as our newest subtexter. Welcome aboard, Charles.
Hello, Charles.
And he said, just hope the Four Nations break doesn't interrupt the chemistry that they've worked so hard to develop over the last 5 games. I'm
terrified of it.
Right. So that is why my sound check, I'm going with Goldfinger, and I'm going with Counting the Days.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4.
What a banger.
Oh, man.
It's funny because like a lot of Goldfinger songs are like love songs. It's like you're like this punk band that writes a lot of love songs. But for this one, like you can just take these lyrics and just say like, yeah, because like Kyle said, like I've been counting the days I've been without you.
Yeah.
It's without Avalanche hockey is really what it's all about for me, because over the next 2 weeks, you're going to be without it. And I'm going to be counting the days before, like I'm going to enjoy the Four Nations tournament, but I will be counting the days till we get Avalanche hockey, because yes, like Charles said, like you got a 5-game run. That is what you want to see. You had one outlier against Vancouver, but overall that's what you want to see. And now we stop it. So how long is it going to take to get that back? Because you come back with a back-to-back.
It's like you finally fell in love with a girl and ask her out, and then it's summer break at school, and then you're like, and then you guys are like,
so
the entire summer you're like, man, I hope it's the same when we get back to school.
But what you're talking about is relationship in the 90s when the internet didn't exist.
Yeah, true.
It's true. A lot different now. But you are so right on that.
That's my problem. Oh man, that's why I can't get into MySpace anymore.
Oh, is that what? Yeah, you don't have a top 5 anymore over on MySpace. All right. So that is going to wrap it up for today, everybody. This one's coming out on Sunday. This will stay on for Monday because the Super Bowl, we'll be busy watching that like 150 million other people. So we'll be back with a new episode on Tuesday. And we got, like I said, some fun things to do over the next couple weeks. So thank you for tuning in, everybody, and making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He's Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I'm Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Enjoy the Super Bowl. And you just made it through another 24 hours where Sidney Crosby is that much closer to being a Colorado Avalanche.
Upper body injury.
Might not play in the Four Nations. He's injured. Bring him here.